I am now, yeah.
Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors. This is a meeting of the Planning Committee brought forward to 7 o'clock from 7:30 because we have a full council meeting to follow at 8 in connection with the neighbourhood plan. There are quite a number of matters on the agenda to get through, but sadly, in view of the events in London over the weekend, I'm going to ask for everybody in the room, please, to be upstanding for a minute's silence. Thank you very much. So that was a particularly sad duty since the full council only a couple of weeks ago to start the meeting in precisely the same fashion.
Yes, but I think it was very appropriate.
Yes. The first item on the agenda is to elect the chair of the Planning Committee. I have to say I'm only aware of one nomination, Councillor Neville Oakes.
No, I'm not elected. No, I haven't. I've not put
I
my...
think the nominations came from you, Councillor Oakes, rather than...
I wish to nominate Councillor Chappell to be head of planning.
Do you second that?
Are there any other candidates?
Nope.
I think I have the pleasure of declaring myself duly elected. The second duty is to elect a deputy chair. I would like to propose Councillor Neville Oakes, Mr. Sterling York from Thus Far.
Do you want to second that?
Yes, please.
You've got one.
Do I have any other nominations?
Thank the Lord for that.
You will be elected.
Just remember, though, I am elected, even though there was no opposition.
Yes, we've been there before.
Quite.
The next item is to accept the terms of reference. In fact, of course, we looked at the terms of reference at the last full council meeting. Full council seemed to think that they were in order, and therefore be a little bit surprised if between then and now we've changed our minds and find something unsatisfactory about them. So, can I take it that we're all in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one would be to receive and accept apologies for absence, except there aren't any, so we don't need to do that. Which brings us on to, I look at the order in which these things appear, would be representation of interested parties, but it strikes me that perhaps it would be slightly more logical to get the declarations of interest and the minutes out of the and then have the representation. So in terms of declarations of interest, this is to receive any declarations of interest from members and officers under Section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, standing orders 35 and 36. Firstly, any disclosable pecuniary interests? None. Any other interests? Anything obvious there?
Talking about declarations of interest, I'm afraid I've been in such a rush, I haven't got my...
Would you like to have a quick glance at the
Yes, and
agenda?
I think that Riverside Close is there.
Yes, it is.
As the mayor says, so I just declare an interest, not pecuniary.
Yes, that's right, it is there. So, in that case,
And we're revisiting that.
that brings us on to minutes of the previous meeting. The last meeting of the Planning Committee was that held on the 2nd of May. Present myself, Councillor Neville Oakes, Councillor Sue Oakes, Councillor Fuller, Councillor Humphreys and Councillor Chesser.
I'm happy to propose them.
And I'm happy to second
All those in favour? Thank you. Right, that brings us on to representations from interested parties. And I believe that Mr John Round wants to make some comments in relation to a planning application that we have already looked at, but which you will have noticed is reappearing on our agenda. And in fact, what I propose to do is to take the order that relates to that immediately after this representation, so that those who are present for that and wish to leave before plowing through the planning applications may do so. Mr. Round.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to address the Council on this matter. And in so doing, I am representing myself, my wife, June, and also Mr and Mrs Hipwell, and also Mr and Mrs Baker. And we have Mrs Baker and Mrs Hipwell with us. Mr Hipwell is in Edinburgh, so can't be here. June is poorly, and Gary is babysitting. So you have a full representation of the three houses which currently are inhabited and wish to register an objection to this application. There is a fourth house which would also be affected by this development if it takes place, which is currently unoccupied, but we feel fairly certain that had it been occupied, whoever was occupying it would be sharing this platform with us. In summary, we think this application should be rejected by whoever's decision it is. We are not sure, but that I think is the conclusion, and we have a number of reasons for it. Essentially, the development as proposed would be in Ryan Avenue, not in Cotterstock Road, well, that's the address that the application refers to. And the first point we wish to make is the site is extremely small, it's a tiny little area of land, and we would see the shoehorning in of a pretty small chalet bungalow into this site to represent a very significant overdevelopment of the site, and one which would significantly detract from the appearance of the top end of the road in which we live. I think that is particularly the case when you view the plans which say that there is going to be potentially a new garage in 5 Cotterstock Road's garden as well. The next point is that, and it relates to the first, is that the eastern edge of the site seems to be very tight up against the property, next door property 1A Lime Avenue, such that there will be no easy access for maintenance of that property because it appears to be straight on the boundary line between the two properties as they exist. And consequently, it also appears from plans that there be virtually no access to what would be a minute back garden either, which to us seems extraordinary for a house to be built in this way. I think another point Mrs Baker would wish to make very strongly is that they feel the proposed development would reduce the amount of light that they would get in their garden, or indeed the property would overshadow their house. So they are particularly unhappy about that. And all of us are concerned about the potential impact on parking. The irrespective of what happened with off-road parking with the development, any off-road parking still needs a drive to access cars in and out of the road, and we think there would be less space for parking in the road than there is at the moment. Already this is a bit of an issue because the current owner of 5 Cotterstock Road runs a business from that property. There are clients that come and go all throughout the day, and particularly in the case, I think, of Mr and Mrs Hipwell, they've found it already difficult on occasions to get in and out of their drive. The situation has got worse in recent months because now that the primary school has moved up to the top end of Cotterstock Road, parents dropping their children off do so at the end of each day, often park at the top of Lyme Avenue to facilitate that. And also there is a bus that goes to Stamford early in the morning taking the school children to Stamford, and quite often parents park there as well. And this has reached a head such that the council, county council I believe it is, or the highways department, whichever, has decided to put double yellow lines at the top of our road, so any parking is going to be moved further down as well. I think the other point that we wish to make is that the proposed development is on the site of an old quarry, hence Lyme Avenue. There was a lime pit there, and we're concerned that if the development goes ahead, all sorts of potential contaminants and rubbish that were put there in the 1970s when the quarry was backfilled will be brought to the surface, and such things probably are best buried. We have concerns over the environmental impact over that. And finally, I would say that as residents, we're concerned, and we understand the issue of timing of meetings, but we're concerned that at its last meeting, the Town Council approved or raised no objection to this application without actually having read any of the objections that the 3 local families have raised, or indeed the comments that were made subsequently by the highways people. And so we very much welcome the fact that you put this matter on the agenda to consider another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. What we'll do, as I've said, is we're going to advance that item on the agenda so that we'll talk about it now. Councillor Oates will very shortly take us through it. Just by way of background, the matter was, of course, before us at the last full planning meeting on the 2nd of May. And the council did not, on that occasion, make any objection. At that point, of course, we had not seen from the ENC website any indication of local objections. So I will get Councillor Oates perhaps just to explain the process that he goes through before he produces his presentations to our planning meetings. Then he's going to, I think, take us through what we had looked at before. There have been certain developments. We've now heard the local objections and we've seen material relating to that. Secondly, there has been some response by the agent to the applicant as well that's been submitted to ENC. So we'll go through that again and we'll have the possibility of a discussion about where we go from there, bearing in mind that we have initially submitted no objection to this. It would be unusual for us to submit no objection and then subsequently go back with an objection. However, I suppose that nothing should remain absolutely and it may be that we take that that's what we should do. So, Councillor Oates, please.
Well, the first thing is that I didn't have any idea of any objection at the time I looked at the website. In the old days, we used to get the plans and papers submitted to the office, and we could look at them. ENC have gone paperless, and everything goes on the ENC website. Now, they don't even actually send me an email to say we've got a new case on here, but they do send one through to the office, and I therefore, pick up via a thing called the weekly list that comes off the ENC website, which means I'm able to pick up applications which have arrived. And I do my very best, and usually around about 4 o'clock on the day before a planning meeting, I go on to each application and I see whether there's anything being added. And this particular case, there wasn't anything. So look, I'm not trying to be a weasel here, I'm just saying there just wasn't anything there. And when you look at it in planning terms, there didn't appear to be any really good reasons for rejecting it, which is why we present today, well, no objection. The other thing to state quite clearly, and you know this anyway, we just give advice and guidance. ENC make the decision, and they have planning officers who are trained and plan, to do this stuff. So, but at the time, we I know it's a bit. I feel a bit weak about this actually, but really, we just looked at it and went, well, it's an infill plot. I mean, in planning terms, it's a minnow compared to the 173 houses down Herne Road, the 145 up there, the 62 down there. You really don't get terribly excited about these things. But I do understand wholly that people who live near there, would get quite, shall we say, interested in it. Okay, that said, let's just go to the what I prepared originally. Annette Robinson is the applicant, who I have spoken to. That's the development. There you can see her house, which is, as you rightly say, is on Cotterstock Road, but actually is probably in Lime Avenue, really. You can argue about that till the cows come home. But basically, we have a proposed dwelling which sits in between 5 Cotterstock Road and 1A Lime Avenue. Now, that's what you got at the moment, more or less where this place is going to be built. That's what's proposed. You'll note there is a garage, but people don't tend to park cars in garages these days. So the big question is whether there would be room for cars to be parked. And the answer is probably yes. But, that's a moot point. And I haven't been down there with a tape measure to see whether or not you could get a Range Rover in there or a Mini. But potentially there is a parking space for 2 vehicles, I guess, in front of this place. This is a proposed front elevation, and so you get a general idea about it, what it is. I mean, it is a chalet bungalow. There you get, the vision of the other sides of it. So you got, it's always difficult when reading these things off a plan to understand what size and impact they might have. It's always difficult to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I go and try and take photographs. Now, the reason I put this up is that 1A Lime Avenue has proposed to build, increase the size of the dwelling from what was essentially a bungalow to a chalet bungalow. This is one of the reasons why I understand that the applicant has decided that they wanted to stem the impact of that by building this bungalow. Okay, that was the original bungalow at 1A. So you can see now, I'm just trying to give you sort of an images of what we're trying to decide here. Top left is the view of the applicant's dwelling from the front. You then, to the right of that, have the view of the back, and then further down you can see the others. But the bottom right-hand one is the building work in place at 1A. Now, that's one of the irritating things about this is that we never got to discuss 1A, Lime Avenue. We didn't get to discuss it for complicated reasons, which were due to time out. By the time we were notified, we weren't able to make any comment. Now, how this came about is an administrative issue, but we never ever looked at the application for 1A. Now, 1A is one of the reasons that the lady who wishes to build this is saying that she wants to build this bungalow because of the theoretically intrusive nature of the building of 1A.
Can I make a comment? I'm not meant to.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
please do. Please do. I mean,
I
I want to be completely transparent about this.
I actually.
You have to.
Technically, what I'll have to do in order to allow you to speak, and I don't propose to try and restrain, which is certainly not at this point, will be to close the meeting to enable you to address us, and we'll carry on in a moment. So.
Okay. I actually live at 1A, and the building here, yes, it's looking high with the scaffolding, but obviously it's not going to be that height. It's only raising the roof by 14 inches, which is a piece of wood, and that's how much higher we're going. But what actually we're doing is we're putting 3 windows in it. That's the difference of it.
No.
Because of the hill here, that you can't really quite see here, there's a hill here, so this house is approximately 2 to 3 metres lower than this house, so which means that although the chalet will be approximately 6 metres, actually the shade into our house and shade into our home, into the living room and all the back rooms will actually be approximately 8 metres. So it's a huge, change for us. We've already spent thousands of pounds on it already, and we paid the money for the south-facing garden, for the sun coming into the rooms, and we're not for stopping anybody building, but obviously when it's affecting the shade, our family, our house, when we've already spent so much money on it, that's why we're objecting, for the sunlight, for the family. And it's not also showing that on the opposite side of the road that the driveways are coming out directly onto either houses or the property as well, onto Lime Avenue. And it doesn't show that on any of the plans. Sorry, if that helps.
Can I make a point that although the town council may not have been able to discuss the application of 1A, we as residents living opposite, we certainly
Perhaps is not necessarily dangerous.
Yeah. May I say, I mean, I really just say that we didn't know about 1A. That's all I'm saying. This is always difficult. I mean, I've read, I have here, the objections that were made. I also have here rebuttals of some of the comments that have been made from the agent that represents the lady, which have been recently presented. Well, I'm happy for this to be a clear and transparent proper debate. And incidentally, I didn't want that to look as though it was, as ginormous as it looks like, because that's basically just the builders covering themselves while they work on the property. It's merely that I thought, well, let's keep up to date with this, and you don't necessarily get a feeling for how things would be from plans. You just don't. I've tried all the time I've been doing planning at the council to try to give a sort of a flavour by going and personally and often going and speaking to people and saying, well, what is this? I think to some extent we've been slightly caught out by this, because I don't think we understood the full sort of size of it. Now, I'm going to make one statement though. You've put your concerns to East Northamptonshire Council. I'm not sure whether it's Oundle Town Council's responsibility to either support or not support you. So if we go neutral on it, your complaints are part of E&C's consideration. So my general feeling is that we probably ought to stay pretty neutral on it, and let your complaints be considered in the other things. That's my general feeling, and I do promise you I don't have any kind of personal interest, either way. I know Lyme Amadou very well. I drive up and down there quite a lot. There are observations about parking and stuff, which I'm sure probably occur at certain times of the day, but when I drive down to my mate and at Dean Way, I've never had really much of a problem down there, but, parking in Oundle is one of the great classics of our time. We love to have more parking.
Councillor Axon, did I have to push you slightly?
You keep going.
Anything else to say? Simply because we've got another meeting starting in just
Yeah, no.
30 minutes and we've still got all the planning out.
Well, we can rattle through those.
So, there are a number of points that have been made with regard to this, some of which are probably matters that we cannot necessarily deal with. For example, the issue around building over a former quarry clearly is going to be a matter of technical expertise. It's down to E&C.
That's
They
refuted.
believe that there are environmental issues.
But that's
behind
refuted.
it.
That's refuted by the.
I appreciate that the applicant's representative paints a different story, as they would. But I don't think that that's an area that we could get drawn into.
Agreed.
It is not for us usually to comment on issues around impact on, I'll put the words in quotes, right to light. Having said that, it is potentially part of the planning process to look at whether there are, for example, overlooking issues and so on. Right to light's a somewhat different issue than a potentially civil one. So far as
And it's horribly
access,
complicated.
parking and so on are concerned, they are legitimate issues, and we have certainly raised points about that in council. In
Yep.
previous applications, and will doubtless do so again. Equally, highways will either have a view or not. If they have a problem with it, they will undoubtedly say so. We didn't consider, when we looked at it before, that there was anything that we wanted to object to. We have now heard that neighbours are objecting. We understand now from that presentation, from what we've read, the reasons behind that. And I guess the issue for us today is this. If we had had those objections before us on the 2nd of May, would they have caused us to perhaps make a different recommendation? I echo Councillor Oakes's point. Whatever we say isn't the final decision on the matter, it is simply our observation if we make one. I'm just going to literally go around the room because I think we have to do this relatively quickly, and what I'll do is I'll simply go that way around the room and ask whether people feel that in the light of what we have heard, they would want the council to take a different approach to this. If they do, we may have to look at that a little bit closer, but literally a sort of yes or no to whether we change from no objection to something different. Councillor Oates.
I've already said I don't think we can change our stance.
I'd certainly like to have had a look at this light issue closely. I don't really understand it, I'm just saying, so I can't really comment. I wasn't at the last meeting anyway.
Councillor.
Just to possibly reinforce some of the concerns shown by the neighbours, like the quarry, the traffic and the light issue. Is there anything else?
Yes, I would certainly echo that. I think it's important that the residents, that we back the residents. If having said that, these things are completely out of our hands because it goes opposed to much higher authority, if I put it that way. I would certainly say something in terms of we have had representation and we would be better than the
Yeah, I would say the same, that having listened, however, as far as I can see on planning grounds, and I think East Northampton, the way they looked at it, I can't see any objection on planning grounds.
I tend to agree with councillors Fuller and Humphreys. We need to make known that we've spoken to the residents and note their comments, but probably can't change our opinion of the application.
My memory of it is that I asked whether or not it was an overdevelopment of the site.
To recall, you used those exact words.
Exactly, so I wasn't in favour of. I think it's too much on too small a site.
Can I just say that I would certainly not object to us making those observations, because I'm trying to stay as neutral as I can about this. We weren't apprised of all the information at the time that we looked at the application. I think what we did at the time seemed perfectly reasonable to me, and I'm pretty assiduous about planning applications. Right of light is about as complicated as you'll get. If you really want to learn all about right of light, well, you need a university degree. It's very complicated.
Not that complicated.
Well, it is.
When you have a south-facing garden.
No, hang on a minute, no.
Can I stop the debate on right of light? We really haven't got time.
I understand that.
And if anybody studied it really, it was probably me, as part of the law course. But I think I've got a flavour around the room. And I think, to be fair to the applicant, who we offered the opportunity to come, but who didn't wish to, we know that her representative has put in a response to what has been said in relation to the objections.
Yes.
Given the stance we took before, we've also taken into account what appears to be the majority feeling within the room. My view is that what we should do is that we should contact ENC and say that since we recorded no objection, A, we've been made aware of concerns of a number of residents. We have also noted what has been said by the applicant in response. And if we ask the authority to look very closely at the objections that have been raised, I'm not sure that we could probably go a great deal further than that at this juncture. But do people feel that that's enough?
Yes.
Do for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a proposition. I think it's trying to distill the finding around the room. Okay, so we will send a letter through to ENC. I'm not sure what the cut-off date is in connection with this application, but we'll get something out to them.
I don't think it really matters, really. I think, we can send something to the case officer. I put a name up there quite specifically.
In fairness to the applicant, the letter that we send to ENC, we should copy to her so that she is well aware of what we've done, because the people who have objected here, they know what we're going to do. She doesn't, so I think in fairness to all parties. And all I can say is that perhaps this is a prime example of how, when we can meet only once a month, I really do not know how councils cope and meet even less frequently to consider planning applications. You get applications that just do not fit those timescales well. And you're either considering them before perhaps objections that are going to be made to come through, as have happened here, or you're constantly asking for extensions of time from the local authority to try to respond. So it's not an easy job. I'd like to thank Councillor Oates for the extra time that he's put into the effort and indeed in terms of contacting the applicant. But unless anybody else has anything else to say, I'm very anxious that we move on to the actual applications. If anybody wishes to stay to go through those, you're more than welcome, or indeed to stay at the full council meeting which will follow on the next.
There's nothing very interesting.
We'll make a sharp exit.
No.
Thanks. Thank you.
But I like you to think, though, that we try to be straightforward about about this.
Yeah, just
And-
think
and
of
it's-
my 4-year-old in that paddling pool and that safe race and garden.
Oh, don't forget your jacket, lovely.
I'm just thinking of the safe race and garden.
Can I
Thanks,
get
John.
us to move on?
Thank you.
Councillor Oates.
No.
Right, let's go to the planning applications.
Right, Rattle, 62, Blackthorn Road, here we go.
Demolition of an existing single-storey extension and erection of a two-storey rear extension.
Right, okay, 62 Blackthorn Road, there it is, just above the George. Now this actually is Reg Sutton's house, Reg Sutton MBE, who died some time ago. His son Philip, I think, sold it to these people, and they just want to do an extension at the back. It's quite a decent sized garden at the back. The reason I put this up is because if you look on the right hand side, or the right hand slide, you'll see a house that is to be erected at Cotters, if it hasn't already been done so, I don't think so, down the Cotterstock Road. So what they're doing is just going backwards a bit into a fairly extensive garden. Here we go, that's what you're going to get. That's the sort of addition we're talking about. On the left hand side you'll see the existing. On the right hand side you'll see that it's been extended a little bit, well, more than a little bit, and going up in the story as well, because it's a single story at the moment, going up to a double story. But elevations, here we go. That's what we're looking at.
Sorry to interrupt. This is the one that was withdrawn yesterday.
Just a minute. Hang on a sec.
Is this the Clapton Road?
Hang on a minute.
All right, okay.
I'm doing this simply because there'll probably be another application at some point. So,
Oh, sorry.
Right, next.
got you there. I've probably wasted your time, but the point is, it's going to come up again.
You're probably right.
Right, okay, Millfields. Single-storey extension to the side and rear of dwelling and conversion of this garage. Big plot, as you can see. Very, very deep plot there. Right at the end of Millfields. Floor plans, existing and proposed, so we're looking at that.
You've got a lamp.
I don't know what to say really. I mean, basically,
Two questions in that case.
Elevations.
Bear in mind everything that's happened. Are we aware of any objections?
please, don't ask me.
A simple yes or no will suffice.
As far as I'm not, look, I will put my caveat, which I hope is being recorded as we speak. To my knowledge, no. But given what we've already had this evening,
Exactly. Right,
that doesn't mean to say there isn't one.
second question. The conversion of a garage to study bedroom will always open the question without sight of anything.
Here we go,
As to
parking.
whether or not there will be sufficient parking.
There's tons
left.
of parking, tons of parking.
Right, fine.
I ask for the obvious reason that we can make.
Now, I always think about parking. You always think about parking when you're talking to them.
Does anybody see any objection to this?
It's not in harness with going on.
I mean, it's relatively minor stuff, really. I can't. It's not intrusive on the landscape. It doesn't really change the street. The parking facility is retained. It's very, very difficult to.
All right, well, don't.
Can I go on? Right, I'll keep going. I'm going. Right. Here's a good one. Right, a certain person. This is this is a certain development which is well produced a reasonable amount of interest for various people. Now these are the gates. Now this cannot be seen without looking at the rest of the application. Now this is what is proposed. That's the gate position. Now, if you look, you can see a blue line that goes down and round and across. Now, that is what where the railings are proposed to go.
Okay.
Now, if the gate was to be only 1 metre high, they wouldn't need planning permission. They don't need planning permission for the railings that are going to go round the side that you can see with the blue line. They don't need that because they're only going to be 1 metre high. If the gate was to be 1 metre high, they wouldn't need planning permission, but because they want to make it a bit bigger than that, that's why they put the application in. And this is where the complication comes in, right? Now, I'm terribly sorry, I hope you can read this, but I mean, I don't know what else to say in order to make sure we make this clear. These are observations by other people about the changes. Now, let's just understand, consent was given to this development by E&C. We made observations that we weren't totally happy with it because it would change the very nature of the look of Riverside Close from a point of view of the street scene and a point of view of the view from the river.
Can I just say that a lot of this is already built and is being built?
No, I've got a photograph of it.
Garden space.
I've got a photograph of it.
So you said your observations, are they not objections, they're just observations from who?
They're effectively objections.
Well, there have been objections.
Oh, they definitely have. But can I just say, I'm trying not to repeat this because we've been through this twice now. This is the original application submitted by E&C, all right? This is the original one. Now, this is the next bit on the agenda, which is the discharge of the conditions. Now, basically, what E&C did when they looked at the original application and they took into consideration complaints by, well, people who were concerned, they put in some certain conditions that said, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. A lot of it was to do with, for example, overlooking the street scene, various other bits and pieces, and these were objections that were put in by people who, well, live nearby. Now, that's the property. This was the permission. And I'm just going to let you read this gently because I think this is just important because, again, this is another. So, this is what E&C are saying. You will do this.
Is this the planning?
Yes.
Come in.
So I'm not in?
Come in.
Okay, thank you.
So this is, you know, the conditions they put on. So in other words, well, they looked at the original planning application, looked at the residents' responses and put in these conditions. And what they're doing now is in effect saying, you know, yeah, we'll let you have permission subject to these issues. So you're looking at obscure glazing, restricted openings, residential amenity, all that sort of stuff. there's another one about privacy screening, because there was a concern raised by a neighbour that said that they thought they were going to be overlooked. Okay, so they put all these conditions in. Now, the thing that is the bit that's confused me, and I haven't actually been able to talk to the case officer about this, is this application has been amended by the applicant to omit gates and railings originally proposed. But yet, the first thing we've got on here is an application to put gates in. So I'm now a bit flummoxed by this, and I think that if we don't do anything else, we should ask that strange anomaly be sorted out, because I don't understand it.
I'd go one stage further. I'm a bit worried about just asking for anomalies to be sorted out, because I seem to remember that when we made representations about certain signage at the wharf, what we perhaps didn't do was add comments that if you were minded to do this, we'd object to X, Y and Z anyway. Bearing in mind how we responded to the initial application, erecting gates would seem to be rather contrary to what we wanted. So it would be a relatively easy matter to say that actually we would object to the erection of the gates because of the impact on the street scene, and all the other points that we previously made anyway.
We did.
And if there is an application for erection of gates, as there appears to be, we'll find we've responded to it. And we can then, as an aside, comment on the fact that it seems confusing. On the one hand, we seem to be talking about seeking permission to do away with them, and on the other hand, seeking permission to erect some. Whether that's to erect different ones to the ones that they were talking about or not, I don't know. But my view is that we didn't like it, the idea of there being any gates anyway, so why don't we just say that and move on?
Yes.
Well, look, that's the most recent photograph. I took that about a couple of days ago. I mean, work is already majorly underway. One of the interesting things about it is that look, that's a site, and I don't want to bore you with this, but that is what it used to look like, you see. That was the original street scene. Now, I got that from Google Maps before they started work on it. And you can see it actually represents the street scene that actually currently runs down Riverside Close. And what they're intending to do is fence it off like a Las Vegas hotel, it seems to me. I'm not entirely sure why they want gates. I suppose it's to do with security.
Does anybody demur from the view that I took earlier? Because I'm conscious of the fact we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4,
No.
5.
I'll keep going. I'll rattle.
10 planning applications.
I'll rattle. I'll go as fast as I can. But I mean, these are the contentious ones, David. The others are pretty straightforward. All I can do is display, so that council can see what the issues are.
Yes, I agree with you, Chair. Yeah, we agree with the Chair.
Well, they're now building walls. I mean, it's
They
back to doing what they'd originally wanted to do and have been effectively told.
well, apart from maybe the railings that we're going to go up the side, they're going to put fences up, one or two other bits and pieces, and the pump room.
I think we record that we object to the instruction of the gates. We'll make a point about the confusing nature of it, but let's move on.
Sorry, okay, yeah, I'm very happy to do that. I've got all this sort of stuff. There's a whole load of stuff. Okay, Ashton Road. I don't think there's a problem with this one. I don't know. I'm sure you know Ashton Road. I mean, you can see it's the only probably the issue is going to be with the trees, but existing single story to a whatever. I can't see a problem with this. The only thing I found strange about this application is that on the website they do propose to put a garage in front, but there isn't actually a plan of it. So there's nothing much I can say about that. You just have to kind of imagine it. But look, I mean, this property is, look, is nestled quietly there. Decent sized site. you can sort of get a general idea about what they're intending to do. I have to say,
an approach to this, because on the face of it, replacing the single-storey garage with this two-storey extension seems to be perfectly keeping with the property area, amount of space. If there's an issue about anything, it is that we lose the garage.
sorry?
Lose the garage, we then are told that there's a plan for a new standalone single-storey
Well,
garage.
it's on that plot site, you see. If you look on the left-hand side, you can see a little square there, which they put. But actually on the plans that they submitted, there isn't a garage that's on there.
My point is simply this: they failed to put the garage on the plan. It's slightly difficult to say whether we approve of the garage or not. And we probably wouldn't approve of the extension taking out the garage, or we may not, if we thought that there would be an impact on parking and so forth.
There won't be an
without
impact.
the garage.
There won't be an impact on parking.
If we take the view that there's no problem, even if there is no garage, then okay, we may not need to get excited about it. If we think that there might be, then I'd be inclined to make an observation along the lines of no objection, subject to the construction of a suitable garage. However, concern that no apparent plan for garage. And it may be better for the thing to be drawn to the applicant's attention for him to submit a plan of the garage so that we can actually consider it.
All I can say is I looked very hard, long and strong at this, and I thought, well, that's funny, they put, oh, there's a garage as well. But I couldn't find a garage on the plan.
That might be a drawing thing of just simply drawing it, because it could obscure half the view of the original plan of the house if you drew almost, if you go back to that plan slide, if you drew a garage in front of it, you would be able to see the plan of the house. So it might be just as simple as that.
I don't think so.
Well,
The fact is that no, I don't follow that at all. All I'm saying is that on the plot site that you see on the left-hand side, you will see there is a proposed garage to go at the front of the property. On the detailed plans, there isn't a plan of the garage. Personally, I have no objection to this whatsoever.
Councillor Chester.
Well, we just need to point out the anomaly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Well, you said earlier.
We're all happy with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
approach.
The other thing may I add, there might be some concern about the trees. There's always concern about trees.
Depends
Well,
what kind of trees
we could append to our comment that if the application would involve the loss of any trees, the matter should be considered by the tree officer.
Yeah.
And just leave it like that.
Boom.
Boom.
Well, that's where I was going to.
Well,
Okay. Next.
we sit Blackpool Road.
Sorry, are we going on?
Yes.
Have we stopped? Jolly good, I'll keep going, fast as I can. 106 Blackthorn Road, this is way up Blackthorn Road, on the way out. There it is. You've got the school to the right hand side, so you'll know you're virtually out of Andle and into Blackthorn. After about 100 yards. There we go. All they're doing basically is just extending to the left, and that's it really.
Anybody see any reason to object to this?
There it is. You can see it there. Look, I've outlined it in red. That's what they're going to do, and it's, well, you know, there's nothing to say really.
So I suggest no objection.
Next, jolly good.
I make a quick observation, both in connection with the next application and the one after it. The Armory and Parade Ground, Norton Road. No, sorry, it's not that one. It's the next one I'm thinking about. Unit 3 Mill Road is actually our own unit, isn't it?
Well, I've said, you will see, David, when I come to it, I shall say, no comment.
I don't think we should be expressing an opinion, so it'll just be no comment. So we can just skip that one.
Can I just say, I'll come to that.
Armory and Parade Ground.
Right, Armley Parade Ground. Look, this is entirely within the confines of the school. Basically, if you look at that, it's not so easily seen in PowerPoint, but the red area is the general area of where this place sits, and the purple area that I tried to show as a little square is what's there at the moment, right? Now the proposal is to just extend that. So what we're looking at is, on the left-hand side, you'll see what exists, and that's that. On the left-hand side, the red square is the little wee bit that they've got at the moment. And on the right-hand side, you see they plan to extend it. And that's it, really. Jolly good. I'm ever so pleased. I mean, I've got all the plans. I can show you the 9 yards, but we'll keep going. Right, this is a cracking one. This is where I say we cannot comment. Chair of Planning, I did note that.
Yes.
But I always like to sort of explain what sui generis means, that buildings that do not fall with any particular use class. And I've always found this a funny one. Now, can I just say, before we go any further, I know we're not supposed to comment, but access, noise and traffic issues.
I still don't think we probably should comment in any event. We have certain management.
I merely put it, I put it up as a flag wave, okay?
The matter could be considered by our estates management team if we think there are issues.
Right, jolly good. We're moving on. Okay. Lambeth Rents. Right, that's marked as withdrawn, so we've gone through that one. Goodbye.
West Street, straight in.
What? Hey? Yeah, West Street, we're into West Street now.
Land between the ship.
Yeah, no, it's been withdrawn. Yeah,
All right, okay, carry on.
yeah.
Seen it.
Read the bottom bit. Right, jolly good. Here we go. West Street, this is KLM packaging, and I assume most of you know where this is. It's just a couple of doors down from Coles Yard. That's the back. That's what they intend to do.
Yes. I find it difficult to conceive that our conservation officer is going to get to be worked up about what's proposed here. And if he isn't,
Do you want to
see that we should.
Do you want to put a note in just to say subject to the conservation?
Yeah, I think it would always be that, but I just struggle to see how.
Let's see what Lloyd says. I don't think Lloyd.
The fact that it's grade 2, isn't it?
It's grade 2. It is a grade 2 listed building. I don't think Lloyd is going to get upset about this one, but maybe we should just put in a little wee note to say.
Objection subject to review of the conservation.
Yeah, I mean. Moving on. Sorry about this.
Tree officer.
Right, tree officer, 24 Spurlings.
Tree officer.
Yeah.
This doesn't fit within our sort of, oh, we don't need to consider this because it's tree husbandry, because this is actually a removal.
It is. It's an ash as well. There's an awful lot of ash dieback. Ashes are under a fair bit of attack, like most trees are these days. I mean, the big question is whether or not we think that, this tree is worthy of retention.
Yes.
But he says, ash removed due to proximity to neighbouring building and poor form. And James Rowlett, who we well know, is the advisor on this case. But, I mean, he may have a vested interest.
It seems to me that unless anybody has any firm views and specialist knowledge that I'm unaware of, we should simply defer this one to the
Yes.
tree officer.
Tree officer.
But sadness.
It's sad because it's an ash, but anyway. Right, 51 North Street.
There we go. Right, That's the conservatory. This is Jeremy Firth's place. That's the conservatory. They want to put a casement door in, and because I had my stick died, I wasn't able to put the last slide in. But fundamentally, that's an ugly modern conservatory, and what they want to put in is a rather tasteful replacement, is what I would generally say to council.
That sounds like another no objection, subject to the view of the conservatory.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Sorry it took so long.
Well, somehow,
We did
and
it.
I'm not sure how, we managed to complete those planning applications more or less by 8 o'clock. We've already done the next item on the agenda because we brought it forward, because of the number of people who are present. It seems to leave us with any other relevant matters for report. I dare you to, but I'll go around the room. Councillor X?
No.
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 Right, done.
First bit you've done.
Oh, there you are. I did know through the meeting more or less all the time, but it took quite some out.